Fantastic. Well, hi everyone. I hope you had a lovely weekend. Hope you managed to avoid the worst of the storms. I'm Matthew. I work at the University of Edinburgh and I'll be facilitating today's session on student and staff engagement. So in terms of how we're going to run the session today, Laura is recording the session just so we can share it with colleagues who can't be with us today. I'll also be taking notes as well, so we can send an information document to all attendees from all of our Climate Action Roundtables just to summarise the key points and key recommendations. For today, we're going to do a quick round robin of introductions. I think most people know each other, but we'll just do very quick introductions just to make that the case. I'll then provide a quick introduction into student and staff engagement and why it is so important in the context of climate and sustainability. Then we'll share current practice, then we'll have a short break, and then we'll talk about the challenges, opportunities and recommendations that we think should be made to member institutions as well. So we've got 2 hours booked in for today. We'll see if we need all of that time. If so, great. If not, we can always finish a bit earlier. So what we'll do, we'll start off with some introductions. I'll just go down the list. If you could just introduce yourself, name, role and university, that would be absolutely fantastic. So if we go first of all to Sophia.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia Schmiede. I'm from Berlin, Freie Universität Berlin International Summer and Winter University. I'm the program director there. So that is a program of Freie Universität that is targeted at international students that come for short-term study abroad stay to Freie Universität. So where I'm not sending out students, but I'm receiving students in normal years, around 700 students from all over the world. And I'm very, very interested in what we will find out today and what we can then take for the future.
No pressure at all, Sophia, on the session today. Thank you very much, Sophia. And on to Julia and then Francesca.
Hi, I'm Julia and I work as Sustainability Coordinator at the University of Vienna.
Yeah, good morning from my side as well. My name is Francesca Kastner, and I'm working as a sustainability project manager at the University of Basel.
Thank you both very much. On to Claire and then Anne-Lynn.
Hi everyone, so I'm Claire. I'm from University PSL Paris Sciences et Lettres in Paris, and I'm a sustainability officer.
Hi, my name is Anne-Line from the University of Oslo in Norway, and I'm a project coordinator for the climate and environment strategy.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And on to Anna and then Laura.
Hi, my name is Anna. I work at University College Dublin. I used to work in the international office. I was very much involved in the sustainability side in the sustainability committee. And I'm now working as an undergraduate administrator in the School of Economics. So I'm kind of trying to also introduce that topic in this new area.
Hi everybody, my name is Laura Brossico. I work at UNICA Secretariat as a project manager. I'm one of the contact person for the UNICA Green and SDGs group.
Fantastic. Thank you all for those introductions. Good to see a good range of universities represented here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my slides just to kind of introduce the topic, and then we'll get the conversation started about current practice. So just bear with me when I get these slides up. Fantastic. So today's topic is all about student and staff engagement, subjects that are very close to my heart. When I was a master's student studying politics and climate policy, I got involved with a group called Transition Edinburgh University, which was a staff student-led project which raised awareness on climate issues and peak oil. And that was funded by the Scottish Government Climate Challenge Fund. So my interest in climate and sustainability comes from this kind of background in terms of how do we actually engage staff and students on these issues? How do we influence behaviour change? And I thought I'd kick off with this quote from Students Organising for Sustainability UK, formerly known as the Sustainability Unit within the National Union of Students. And the quote reads, "Change doesn't just happen. Students and staff need to feel encouraged, supported, and be led by example to really take on new habits and behaviours." So what that means to me is if we want to achieve our sustainability and climate goals, we need to make sure that our university community is contributing towards those goals. They have an active part to play. We can't achieve our goals of becoming carbon neutral or our wider sustainability aims if our students and staff are not actively involved. And for me, this isn't just about individual behaviours in areas of work and study. It's about how do we actually develop a new culture at universities, because that is what's required to make sure that our universities and colleges are as sustainable and socially responsible as possible. And from that, I thought I would kind of provide some examples of well-known initiatives across the sector. From across Europe. And the first one I started off with was the Green Office movement. Some of you might be familiar with that. Some of you might have green offices in your universities. But this is quite a popular model, especially in Europe, looking at Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany. And this is a concept where we empower students to actually undertake actions. The university supports, provides funding to establish these green offices, which then employ or indeed have student volunteers that actually run sustainability engagement projects across a whole range of issues. It could be looking at energy, travel, you name it. But essentially it provides students with opportunities for employment and to lead that action on campus. Another well-known scheme is Green Impact, which is delivered by SOS UK. And this has been developed in the UK, but delivered in Europe and also North America. And essentially this provides universities and colleges with a framework of actions for their students and staff to undertake in their academic schools, their professional service departments, or student accommodation. The frameworks look at actions around individual behaviours, group behaviours, but also look at thematic areas such as waste, circular economy, energy, mental well-being, travel. And this has been running for several years with over 1,000 organisations taking part. Predominantly at the start, it was universities and colleges and student unions, but over time that's developed into kind of hospitals, museums, prisons, city councils. So this is a really well-known framework that you can basically pick up the shelf and adopt at your university. And staff and students are recognised by kind of bronze, silver, gold, and even platinum awards based on the number of actions they complete. So we have green offices, we have Green Impact, and now I just want to kind of pick up on two recent projects that I'm aware of. No doubt you'll be aware of others as well, and some of you might be involved or have been involved in these. First of all, I want to kind of highlight Saves 2, which is the successor project to Saves in the UK. And this was a project across Europe looking at how we could promote sustainable energy behaviours to students in their student accommodation, with a kind of focus on fuel poverty and practical ways to reduce the risk of students falling into that issue. Now, this was a widespread project covering 8 countries. You see the list there. And this was a highly successful project which developed open education resources that universities, colleges, and other educational institutions could pick up and use in student accommodation. And it very much focused on energy behaviours and also that issue of fuel poverty. The project finished last year, and there's a whole range of resources on their website that you can access. Another European funded project was the European Student Sustainability Auditing Project, or ESSA for short. This finished in 2019 and ran for 3 years. And essentially this project was trying to understand how universities were addressing social responsibility through everything they do, looking at policies, strategy, looking at practices, culture. And at the heart of this project was about empowering students. So we developed an academic course that provided students with the training and bandwidth to reflect on how participating universities were embedding this into their policy and practices. We had students from Kaunas University, Edinburgh, King's College London, and also Porto coming together to audit other universities. So we had these fantastic groups of students going to interview senior leaders, students, and also looking at all the evidence that universities had about their socially responsible kind of practices and policies. And at the end of this audit week, they provided the institutions with recommendations about how to improve what they were actually doing. But it also provided students with a fantastic way to gain additional academic credit, transferable skills, and a deeper understanding of the concept of social responsibility. So we've covered kind of two concepts, we've covered kind of two projects that look at engaging staff and students with the issues of climate and sustainability. And I just wanted to kind of end this kind of introduction to the topic with some reflections that I've had over the last 10 years or so, kind of working with staff and students on these issues. First of all, one of my favorite quotes, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I really do think this is the case. To achieve, as I said at the start, our climate ambitions, our sustainability objectives, we need to transform the culture in our universities and colleges. We need to make sure that we have buy-in from staff and students if we want to see changes across everything we do. It's okay if you've got a strategy and policy, but probably like me, if you're in a room full of staff and students and you ask them, who's read this strategy? Who's read this policy? You're not going to get many hands being shown. So it's really important that we make an effort to try and develop that culture. Secondly, I think it's really important to have well-defined roles and support for our staff and students that empowers them to take action in their individual lives, but also the areas of work and study. So really looking at the roles they can play, whether that's through kind of champion roles, representative roles, coordinator roles, but also looking at the kind of grant funding and training available to staff and students. Thirdly, I'm always inspired. And I think, when you're trying to deliver change in a university, sometimes, it is challenging, change can take time, but I am really inspired and my energy levels do change when I'm working with staff and students on the projects that they're developing. Here at Edinburgh, we have a great grassroots movement of staff and students who are developing social enterprises, startups and social enterprises that have an impact on campus, but also in local communities as well. So it's just fantastic to see what staff and students can do if you give them the right tools, the knowledge, and also mechanisms to empower them to take action. Fourthly, and one point that I'm really passionate about, I think, if your university has a climate or sustainability kind of committee, or you have a decision-making process, students need to be involved in that. Normal staff need to be involved in that as well. So it's not just all senior management. You have voices from across your university community, because if you don't, I think you're missing an opportunity to really engage with staff and students and get them involved and almost generate that shared ownership of your climate and sustainability strategies. And lastly, I thought, I was wanting to highlight some opportunities, some positive notes, but also some kind of realistic challenges. And for me, and especially over, the last couple of years with COVID, with online working, hybrid studying, it's kind of time pressures on our staff and students. They are really, really this is a challenging area for our staff and students, I think, no more so than now. They're trying to combine family life, work, studies, part-time work with everything they do. So how can you actually fit in extracurricular opportunities for your staff and students, professional development opportunities? It's challenging. So I think that's one area that is continuing to provide us with a bit of a challenge to address. We haven't solved it yet, but I think as we can, go from this kind of pandemic into hopefully opening up society more, there's more opportunity to hopefully engage with staff and students in person, but also in a better way online as well. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen just now, and just to see if there's any kind of questions or any comments after that kind of very quick overview. I'm just going to check the chat as well. Laura, thank you so much for sharing those links. Grand. Well, look, that's hopefully given you a bit of a kind of an overview of the topic, some points to kind of think through as well, but also hopefully trigger some contributions in terms of what you're doing at your own universities to engage staff and students in climate and sustainability issues. So what we're going to move on to now is just basically a roundtable, just sharing as much as you'd like in terms of what kind of projects have you got going, what kind of issues are you dealing with at the moment. So I'm just going to go down the list and I'll invite you to kind of come on your mic. If you don't have anything to share, absolutely fine. There is no pressure. This is really an opportunity for you if you want to share, but also to learn from others as well. So I'm just going to go to the list. And how about we invite Anna John to kick things off, and then we'll move to Anlin.
Yay. It's actually Anna John, but that's okay. It reads like John.
Apologies.
It's easy to say. So the thing for my situation right now is that I used to be in this in the International Office Sustainability Committee, and we did a lot of things. So I can go ahead and like list these things, but my situation in my new role at school is that there's nothing. So there's nothing sort of happening, and I'm starting out really new. And what I am mainly looking for in this session is to get ideas of ensuring staff buy-in, sort of convincing, because for us, our students are interested in initiatives in sustainability, but I find it harder to engage staff and explain to them why it actually is important and why it is beneficial to them as well to engage in initiatives. But so what we did in the international office is that we had sort of a committee of people who are interested in sustainability from across the different sub-teams. So I was there for the exchange student side of things. We had people in international recruitment. We had someone from actually we had two people from the marketing section. We had someone who was leading the committee who was a director. And then we had someone from the student experience team who was organizing orientation. So we did a lot of initiatives aimed at students, since international students are really sort of a big cause for carbon emission, I think, for universities in general, depending on their flight length. And then when they come to Ireland, they often then take short trips on the weekends to see the rest of Europe, because they're close to Europe now. So what we did is offer and introduce a number of orientation events for them. So we had a whole session on how to recycle in Ireland, because it is different than from other countries. And then we had a session on different things. I think we made t-shirt yarn in one session. We had a walk in the campus woodland, sort of to see the nature side of the campus, get them aware of that. We drew up a guide, a green guide for international students, which sort of said, okay, when you're coming to Dublin, this is how you pack sustainable. This is how you can pick a sustainable flight. Here are the top non-packaging stores around campus. Here is where bottle banks are around campus. These are we have a pretty big one, so these are where where you can have a bike rack. This is how you get a transport ticket to use the buses. So we sort of pooled everyone's ideas into one guide, knowing that international students, they come to Dublin and they have no idea where to find all these things. So even students who are very aware of sustainability and they're very keen on living sustainable, they might not know where to find these resources. I can actually link that document because it's on our website. And then from this, we sort of pulled out different small events during orientation, which were student-led. So we also have student clubs and associations who are interested, who then worked with us and sort of delivered these workshops, because we couldn't, you know, there's only so many things you can actually do during orientation. So that was really helpful. So you have the students that are interested in delivering this. There's something else. Just the guide. We also started looking into tracking flight emissions. There's one single platform where everyone needs to book business flights through at UCD, and we connected with them, and they offered us a view, an opportunity, like a possibility. When you get the sort of sheet of all the flights that were taken during the term or something, that they added a column and added the flight emissions. So they calculated that, and then we had sort of a baseline to compare to maybe next year. Are we going up? Are we going down? What in terms of business flights? So this is more of for us to track. We haven't introduced any measures yet, but I think based on that, it will be something that you could also put numbers on and then say, okay, look, these are our goals. And then there's another part of the university, which is the estates office. They run a program that's called UCD Green Campus, and students can sign up with their sustainability project ideas, basically, and they can then become a green ambassador and get support from that office and get, I think there's funding involved, but I don't know how much. And then they can then get a certificate sort of as an extracurricular activity that they have been the sustainability ambassadors. Oh, there's one thing more. That's what I forgot about orientation. Our student union collects household items when students move out at the end of the semester. And then at the start of the new semester, they hand them out for free. So it's the whole, yeah, they have so much stuff. And then we are always happy to tell our international students, before you buy new things, check out their swap. But we had an issue last year, was that they didn't have the space to store the things. And there was some disagreement as to who should provide the space. So they don't have an office space. And then within the units, there was disagreement of who is actually responsible to now provide them with space, who even has the space, because we're running low on office space. So that was a difficult decision. I think in the end, they had to book storage off campus, or they got a container. So that was actually also really, really difficult to decide, yeah, which unit is actually taking responsibility for this. And yeah, so now at the School of Economics, I feel like the students, they're engaged at college level. We have a new bachelor's degree introduced now, which is a BSc in sustainability. So I feel like there's a lot happening for students, and students are very responsive, and they're excited to get involved. But the lecture side, I'm aware that there's lots of printing, business travel, and just water coolers with the plastic water jugs. And I feel like there's lots of things that I see in the office that could change, but I'm not sure how.
Anna, thank you very much. Your comment there about the kind of end of term kind of clear outs, that rings a bell with my experience at Edinburgh and the issue of space. We found a similar challenge here in terms of just trying to get the students space to undertake the end of term clear out and for the free shop as well at the start of term. So you're not alone in terms of facing that challenge. Can I ask, in terms of, one of the kind of questions you posed at the very start was about trying to achieve that staff buy-in. Can I ask, is that kind of academic staff? Is that professional staff? Both?
More academic. Okay. Yeah, in my experience, I feel that support staff, they're more aware, they're also more in touch sometimes with students, or like they have this exchange more. I mean, this could be biased from my side, but I sometimes find it hard to to sort of convince academic staff to change their ways, if you know what I mean.
It's a really good point. I'm going to see if anyone would like to come in here and just share any kind of reflections or comments just about that question in terms of staff buy-in, in particular kind of academic engagement. I wonder if you've got kind of any experience, any tips for Anna at all. While you do that and have a think about that, just to see from Edinburgh's side, we've also faced a similar challenge, I think it's fair to say, in terms of we have higher rates of engagement with professional services staff than academic staff. One approach we have developed over the last year is really looking at how we tie this in with embedding education for sustainable development. So we're about to kind of launch a community of practice that will support academic staff to embed this within their courses and degree programs, but provide them with kind of professional development training. So we're bringing in kind of academics who are, thought leaders in this space to deliver the training. We're very fortunate. We've got Pete Higgins at Edinburgh University, who is a great expert and highly respected. So we're hoping that by bringing in quite a senior academic, well thought of, that will encourage engagement with the kind of academic side of things, and we'll just see how that goes, because we're trying to really provide them with the tools and knowledge to help them, because this is going to come from kind of top down. So we're trying to get ahead of the game here to kind of engage with them. So yeah, that's my kind of experience, one example from Edinburgh, but I just wonder if anyone's got any other kind of reflections or comments just to address Anna's question of engaging with academics. Absolutely fine if we don't have anything just now. We'll come back to it, and Anna will make sure that question is addressed and you get some kind of helpful tips on that. Anna, thank you very much for that overview there. We'll now go to Anne-Lynn. Anne, if you just want to kind of share current projects or any issues that you're facing just now.
Yes, thank you. I haven't been, so our university board just approved our new environmental strategy a few weeks ago. So we're very happy about that. And we have a vice rector responsible for sustainability. So we kind of have a good base to work out from now. We made it, in English, I think I could call it the competence advisory board for the vice rector, with senior staff and some administration and also students, just like for a group for her to discuss and have a brainstorm ideas with. But so, okay, now we have a brand new strategy, and the challenge now is how to follow through this strategy. So we're making quite a big action plan, or list of action plans, and that's going to be discussed, and everyone's allowed to send their opinions about the action plans, and then of course then the proper job starts. How to trickle this down in the system, how to engage people. So we're kind of just at the starting point. So that's why I don't have any good tips for Anna as for now, because the strategy has engaged people. There's been almost 50 articles in media and lots of discussion. So it's definitely engaging. But how do we keep that engagement when when people are just getting back to their proper research job now that Corona might leave us? So yeah, that's my step one for us, is that we're just going to freshen up the website, because we see that we have a lot of initiatives all over the university, and even the IT group, the administration, and those who are responsible for procurement, they have made their own sustainability groups and do projects themselves, but people don't know. So at least we're in step one is just to actually make it possible to see on our website that people are engaged. So that's just step one. And and I tried to start up a green office, student green office this autumn. We launched it as an internship course, because as you said, Matthew, students are pressured on time. they don't really feel that they have time to do extra stuff unless they do get credit for it or money. So we launched it as an internship course, but we ended up having one student apply. So yeah, so they're so busy, and they're so, you know, the study programs are quite packed, and there's not that much space for doing extra stuff. So that's yeah, because I thought, wow, this is a dream project, and just one student applied. So yeah. But for Sophia, I just thought we have an international summer school, and the international summer school here have a SDG day for all the summer school courses. So I thought maybe that could be interesting for you to check out. And also we're part of a national committee, SDG committee, that have a SDG conference every year in Bergen, which is now digital. And they have something they call Day Zero, that is for students only, or students are those who are active presenting, and it has ended up being the most popular day, more popular than the other ordinary conference days. Yeah.
And
yeah. So
thanks for sharing the SDG day. What did that look like? It's like workshops and students enroll in what they're interested in, or is it like a structured day and everyone participates in everything, or is it about developing ideas for the summer school? I mean,
yeah, I'll try. I don't know that much about it because I was just tipped. The director that tipped me about it, so I'll try to find something and send you. Of course, it was probably digital last year, so I'll look for something to send you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we're kind of just in the starting ground and interested in any ideas and what doesn't work and what does work.
Brilliant, thank you so much. I can share your frustration about putting in a lot of effort and then only getting kind of very few applicants. Being there with projects, being there with internships, yeah, it's annoying. Your question about momentum is a really good one. How do you kind of develop momentum going forward on the back of a new strategy and policy? I'll share what we've done at Edinburgh after we've kind of done the round robin, but that's another question I've put down in terms of how do you generate then maintain that momentum for engagement, because that's a really kind of difficult question there. Anne-Lynn, thank you so much. I'm just going to see if there's any kind of specific questions or comments for Anne-Lynn there. Nope, no problem at all. Okay, we'll move on to Claire.
Yeah, here I am. So from our school, it's a bit different than yours because well, not really different than yours, but I think we are not as well organized as you may be, because we do not have a sustainability big team. I'm the only one working for it, and it's just the beginning. So we're just like trying to do little things and see if they work or not, and then we will work on a strategy. And it's interesting because when you talk about the strategy, we have actually it's the students themselves who wanted to do something. So they really asked us if they could like do working groups, and so they have decided themselves of the topics, and then they want us to like find the right people that need to be part of the working group. So I think it's a very interesting like movement that it comes from the students, and it's something that I would love to do, but I have so much problem with the hierarchy, the people working above me. So I'm glad it's coming from them, because it makes it much more easier, because they cannot really say no, like it's the students, like it's coming from them. But yeah, so I can talk to you about some of the projects we've worked on that maybe could be useful for you too. So we have a student initiative funding that we've implemented a few years ago, but then it was stopped during the COVID time. And this year we made it happen again. And so we have 80,000 euros for students' organizations or students' initiatives. And this year we chose to prioritize projects related to sustainable development. So it was quite large. So basically a lot of projects could be like sustainability related. But next year we would like to, so we have this kind of theme that the university want to focus on each year. This year was the Anthropocene, sorry for the mispronunciation, and next year will be water. And so we would like to work on these student initiative fundings that are related to water for next year. So we don't really know if it's going to work, because this year we did ask for projects to be related to sustainability, but in the end we had to fund some shows, some Broadway-like shows, because we didn't have enough sustainability projects. So it's like we want it, but sometimes students, like, it's not always working. And so we will see how it goes next year with the water. I'm not sure it's really going to work, but at least we will try. And we also have these kind of key moments during the year. We want to do a sustainability week, and we want to involve students as well as staff. And for now, we have some projects with the staff, for example, a kind of campaign to reduce electronic waste. So we'll ask everyone in the building to bring back at the office stuff they have, and then we'll work with a partner that will try to, I don't know how to say it in English, but try to donate it, like to repair it and donate it, and then to recycle it we can't do anything with it anymore. So that's little stuff that we're trying to do to have the staff involved, but it's not, for now we're going to do it for March, so I'm not really sure how it's going to work out, but we already did a clothes, kind of a clothes, I don't know, a collecting of clothes last winter for the students, and we had a lot of clothes from the staff that they brought. So I think it's this kind of little stuff, sometimes it works because it's pretty easy, and sometimes it helps people also to do some cleaning at home. So that worked, so we were happy about that. And we are also trying something else. Sorry, my throat hurts a little bit. It's a local partnership with something that is called the Climate Academy. It has just opened in Paris. It's an initiative from the city of Paris. And so they have this beautiful building that used to be a city hall, and they have completely remodeled it, and now it's a climate academy. So you have like plenty of rooms, and that you can actually, we have a partnership with them, so we can actually take the rooms and organize an event, organize a conference there. And it's pretty useful because we do not have a campus. We have like a lot of small campuses all around Paris, and it's sometimes hard to like gather students from different schools to events. So we just like use this opportunity to have this location that is in the middle of everything, to have our students come and gather, and it's very useful. And so far it's really working. And we are also having, so I'm in charge of this partnership, and we have different departments of the universities that have asked me if they can also use the location to organize different different events all related to climate. But so it's working, and we're quite happy about this. And so we've used kind of a local partnership in order to involve people, but it's also working because in Paris, this place is kind of getting like all the, like people are being very excited about it. So we are using this opportunity. And I think that's it. We also, I also wanted to say that we have training for staff, like on some, I don't know if you know it, but the climate fresque. I know it's, I don't know if you know it, but I can send you the link afterwards. And it's kind of a game when you can learn about climate and climate change, how everything is related. But the problem is that these trainings are only voluntary, on a voluntary basis. And so I did them all. And every time I was seeing like which people actually went there, and it's usually a department that want to do some team building like exercise. And so it's not really working because not a lot of people do it. So I think it kind of should be compulsory. But so yeah. So from us, that's all this little project we've been working on.
Claire, thank you very much. Great to hear about the kind of student demand in terms of for those kind of workshops and kind of topics linked to strategy. That's really encouraging. And I've put another kind of question for us to address in terms of how do you actually engage a wider pool of staff? So that's a challenge that we're facing as well. I'm just going to pause there just to see if there's any specific questions for Claire or any comments. Nope, no problem at all. Claire, thank you very much. And a warm welcome to Martin. Martin, welcome to the Climate Action Roundtable today. Do you just want to very quickly introduce yourself in terms of name, role and university?
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Maarten Ipers from the Vrije Universiteit Brussel. I've been working here for about 5 years now on sustainability and mobility. I'm the mobility coordinator of the VUB, and I'm also the Green Team coordinator. The Green Team is a team of job students working bottom up on sustainability, so also mainly on engagement. So that's why it's a very relevant session for me today.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Martin. And we'll be coming to you after we've heard from others just about kind of what you're doing at your university in terms of engaging staff and students. What you just said in the student engagement front, I think is going to be of interest to lots of colleagues on the call. Claire, thank you very much. We'll now head to Francesca to provide an update from her institution.
Yes, thank you. And I have to say that it's good to hear that you also face the same challenges that we do here. For example, Claire, with your, when you said you had this project funding 18,000 euros, students could apply for projects, and I thought, oh my God, how did you do this? That the students did this. We offered the students 5,000 euros, and we had to take the money to the students and say, please do something about it. And it's very, very challenging. And we think and we are convinced that the students are very important, and there's a student demand. Just last year, the students handed in a demand paper to our president about changes at the university, not only in regard to teaching, research and campus, but also how the students should be more integrated and more be part and sit on at the big table at the university, because it's the students are the customers, and the students are very, very important for the university. We started in 2013. We started with a support program that was called Boost, and we wanted to support student projects based on sustainability. We wanted to support them to become startups or just to kick off their project idea. We did workshops, brainstorming, everything just to help students get an idea on sustainability, but also if they already maybe had an idea, how to make them more concrete. And it was the projects that were realized in the end were very good. But it was very difficult for us to get the students to participate in this. And feedback, as you said, is that we don't have enough time. We have to work with the study, and the studies are so overwhelming. 500 Swiss francs are enough. So we lowered the budget, but still, the thing is then we wanted to have projects that have an impact. If you give them 500 francs, the impact of the project is not that big. So we decided in the end to change the project and into the Impulse project that I presented the last time, which is about integrating the student engagement in the curriculum, so that the students realize their projects or start the project idea as part of their studies. So that's one thing. The president, she's very open to the student engagement, so we very much appreciate that. We got job percentage. So there's a student working at our sustainability office just focusing on student engagement. We have the working group sustainability at our university, which was initiated by students, by the demand of students. We want to do something. And the idea was that it's open to all university members, to staff, to academics, to administrative personnel, to PhDs, postdocs, students. And at the beginning, there were staff and academics and administrative personnel engaged, but then COVID came and everything turned online, and it's just now it's mainly students working on the projects. They're very highly motivated and engaged. The thing is that, again, with the timing, students are just maybe sometimes there for a semester, or they have a different time span of thinking. They think, okay, I start in February maybe, and this has to be done by the end of June. So the projects are, again, not very, I don't know how you say, big. We would like them to be, scale up the projects. They have a brochure for everyday life of a student guide on everyday life. How can a student make their daily life more sustainable? This brochure is great, but they don't communicate this brochure. It's just available online and you have to search for it. So it needs to be more upscaled. So that's the challenge, but also how can you find the right people, not only the momentum, but you need to find not only the right students, but also the right staff. How can this one person in this faculty or in this department sometimes is enough to get more people motivated to participate. What else? One thing that I wanted to say, maybe on a nationwide basis, is that we notice that the pressure is coming from the students. We have a sustainability week. It's organized Swiss-wide, but it was demanded by the students. We have as a platform helping student organizations, which was also demanded by students. So there's not much nationwide institution support. So there's a lot of support from our university board, but not on a nationwide basis. So that would help us much. That would help us a lot if there would be more support for student and staff engagement. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Many thanks, Francesca. Really interesting, some of the kind of case studies you're highlighting there, but also in terms of the challenges, especially around about kind of time and how students are that kind of transitional community in terms of projects, stop, start, and the chance to kind of upscale and generate momentum going forward. Yeah, that's the kind of issue that I think many colleagues are facing. I'm just going to pause there to see if people have got any kind of questions or any kind of comments for Francesca there on any kind of projects or challenges you highlighted.
No, well, just a comment on the scale, the challenge, and also the sustainability in the projects. For example, gardening or growing vegetables whose students request, but then they're just there for a few months maybe before they have to move on. And so it's kind of these loop projects, like the requests that come and they go and they come and they go. So I just I feel the frustration.
One thing that I wanted to add based on, I think, Claire, you said that you have training for staff, right? We were also thinking about doing that, and there are a lot of challenges out there. Like, I don't know if you have the Bike to Work challenge and We Act challenge, where you can group up in your teams and challenge each other in the university. And I think that's actually pretty good, and also have a training special for incoming staff starting to show them what is your, also the question of the culture. Do you want to identify yourself at the university as a sustainable university? But there are a lot of obstacles in communication, marketing departments, HR. There are a lot of people you have to talk about, and then again, there's the time factor. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, and I really like the idea of the training for staff. So I hope you keep on going, Claire.
Claire, do you want to come in and say a bit more just on that point in terms of the training for staff, in terms of what does it include, what does it kind of feel like? Claire, just a quick question. Would you be okay to come in and just say a bit more about that kind of staff training?
Sorry, I just heard the last part of the question. I didn't know you were asking me. Yeah, so we have like this kind of, I don't know how to say it in English, but like it's internal school, like a school only for staff and academics. And so you can like have some training on, for example, management, so some people can have training in management, and they have a small part in sustainability. And so for now we have this climate fresque workshop that I've sent it to you, the link on the chat. We have something on, I don't know how to say that in English, a kind of electronic, like how to use your computer in a less, in a way that doesn't affect the environment much. We have this, but I don't know how to say it in English. I'll find out. I send it to you. And so that's very useful because it's like a real training that explains how electronical material is really affecting the planet, and that it should be more on like how you buy stuff, like to reduce buying stuff, to encourage reusing stuff, and not necessarily sending an email that does not really have that big of an impact as I thought before doing the training. So this is very useful. We have these two, and then we have another one, a training on how to teach about climate. So really to have the fundamentals that explain everything about climate change. I forgot my words, sorry. But so this is the kind of training that we have. But yeah, like I said earlier, unfortunately, we don't have that many people, and there's people like me that do them, but I'm not the best audience, as I can say, because I know, I don't know everything, of course, but I'm already aware of these issues that some people are not at all, but they're not, so they just see that and they will not apply for the training. So it's really something complicated, and because we don't have that many people for the training, then it will end like they won't do it for the next semester, or so it's really tricky on this issue. But I try to encourage my colleagues to do them, but it's not always working because they have already like so much things to do, and same as for students, like they don't have the time, and sometimes it's just like, well, you need to find it and then you just do it. It's not as long, and it's a good team building exercise as well, because you just like spend time with your team, you do some workshops and everything, and I think it can be very useful, but just sometimes it's not a priority.
Claire, thank you very much. Anna.
Yes, sorry, I just had a thought when you mentioned that staff training and it's in your internal sort of school thing, because I just remember when, was it last year, 2 years ago, when we used to have GDPR training in that internal school, and it was set up in a way that anyone could just access it at any time. So it was virtual. It wasn't like you book it for this date or something. You can just open it and do the training, and then you would have a little confirmation that you did GDPR fundamentals or something. And I think it was in 2020 that UCD introduced this whole project for GDPR and driving it more. So we had, you know, the officer for GDPR, and then the whole support, but they introduced GDPR champions. So every unit in every school in UCD have one person. So they are like normal, regular stuff, but they were designated the GDPR's champion. And they had to, so they're basically, if anything new comes out, the information gets passed on to the champion who's in that unit, and then they spread it to their colleagues. And I remember that 2 years ago, they had, for example, to ensure that everyone in their unit has completed these fundamentals. So UCD decided that it's actually mandatory for all staff to complete that training. And then the champions sort of looked after it. And I'm just, now that you're mentioning this training, I'm thinking maybe that would actually be an idea to introduce, or to sort of from top down introduce more things, because you have someone local who knows how a unit works and how the everyday processes go, rather than if you're sort of distant, it's hard to sort of see how to implement things. And then you have that champion that also voices back, oh, this works for us this way, or then maybe between the champions we can exchange best practices. Maybe this is a way of sort of feeding it into all of the units, and then also promoting that training among all staff.
Thank you, and I think that's a really interesting kind of example, looking at how, you know, that model is used for GDPR. One of my favourite topics, I have to say, not to spend a lot of time on that. But I think that's a really interesting example, whether we can maybe use that model for kind of sustainability purposes. And that question, training, mandatory or voluntary, I think is one that's definitely on the radar. One kind of point I just want to come back on was about the scalability of projects. You know, we want these projects to, you know, upscale. We want them to continue. Well, one thing that we have done in our kind of student grant funding is, as part of the requirement when applying, you have to have within your group students from different year groups. So we don't want just a group of students from first or second year. We want, you know, a different range of students from undergrad, postgrad. And that was based on some learning from University of Strathclyde. They have their kind of vertical integration project approach, which I believe was developed in a university in North America. And that was really trying to address that point about how do we engage students together in terms of across year groups, and how do we kind of upscale the impact of these projects, as you know, and make them continue, not just stop, start, because I think that's a real challenge we face. So when I kind of share what we're doing at Edinburgh, I'll show some resources there, but I think trying to encourage that kind of diverse membership from different year groups and projects can be maybe a starter for TEM. Any other kind of questions or comments there for Francesca? Nope. Okay, well, I'm aware we've just gone for, that's the first hour gone, now we've only got 1 more hour to go. I'm going to suggest we take a quick 5-minute break just to have some time away from the screen, grab a coffee, etc., stretch your legs. And then when we come back, we'll hear from Julia, Sophia, Martin and myself, and then we'll talk more about some of those kind of main challenges that people have highlighted. So I will see you back online in 5 minutes. Brilliant. Well, welcome back all. Hope you managed to get away from the screen and have a very quick break there. So we're going to move on now and hear from a few more colleagues about what they're doing to engage staff and students, but also to kind of highlight any kind of issues they're currently dealing with. So we're going to now go to Julia. Julia, over to you.
Thank you. So I think in Vienna, we are pretty much in the same position as Anneline explained. So since autumn, we have kind of a sustainability strategy. It's pretty short, but we have some sustainability goals defined. And now we are kind of in the phase of what next. So we have our goals. And one goal is, for example, climate neutrality until 2030. And for that goal, we are working on a roadmap, how to reach climate neutrality. So this is more of a technical thing to do, and we're working with consultants on that as well. But we have other goals. For example, we want to do our part in achieving the sustainability development goals, and we want to transfer knowledge in public and so on. And for those goals, it's a bit hard to define how to continue from here. So we have the goal, but now we are in the phase of, okay, how can we work towards the goal? What would it actually need? Because for climate neutrality, it's pretty much clear you have to have your greenhouse gas balance, and from that point you have to work towards climate neutrality, or what you define as climate neutrality. But for the other parts, I think it's a bit hard to define how to actually get there, and this also involves how will we engage staff and students on the way to achieve those goals. So that's kind of where we are right now. And on a strategic side, it's me as a sustainability coordinator, but it's also, like Claire mentioned, this one person thing at the moment. So we are in this moment, we are trying to find a structure, how we can facilitate actually a progress, but we are not really sure how it's going to look. So will there be a sustainability team of staff, for example? I really like the idea of a green office, and I heard a lot of good examples. Also in Austria, I think University of Innsbruck they established a green office with students. So there are pretty good examples. So, but now we are in the phase of finding our way, because we have a sustainability advisory committee, but they are more on a strategic level and on an advisory level. But now we need also people who are operative, so who will work together with us on achieving the goals. And that's where we are kind of not struggling, but we are just finding or thinking about solutions and ways on how to do this, because we are quite a large university. We have around 100,000 people, so we're really trying to find a balance and maybe a process on how to involve people, because we know, so there is sustainability on the strategic level, but we know there are a lot of smaller groups. We have sustainability teams in faculties. There are a lot of smaller groups, and they really want to do something, and they are doing something. And a lot of these groups are now in the process of establishing their own sustainability strategy based on the strategy of the university. And they come up to me and say, can we tell you something about our strategy, and you tell us how it's at the management level. But that's the communication at the moment. And I think they would love to have some discussions between the different groups. But I don't know at the moment how to facilitate it best. And as Lynn mentioned, website, I think our website will be a big part of it. We don't have a website for sustainability right now, or not a landing page. So I'm excited what people at Oslo are doing, but we are in the process of establishing that. And I hope that this may help in, groups, finding other groups, people finding other people who are interested. But for student and staff engagement on a broader level, we are in the process of finding right ways. So I'm excited to hear all your examples as well. Because I know we have students who are interested. For example, we have one group of students who have built a small group for biodiversity at a specific location of our campus. And they're working towards establishing a strategy as well. And they have some little projects. For example, they are crafting nesting boxes for birds, and they want to hang them in the trees. So it's small projects, but really nice, actually. But I'm sure there are lots of such projects I don't know of yet. So that's a big part of the next months, probably. And there are also students, I know students from psychology, for example, they are working on sustainability in their master thesis. So they want to work on the topic of sustainability in the workplace, and they want to do a questionnaire within our university, so within our university staff, on how do you perceive sustainability at your university? How is your superior handling sustainability? So I think this will be really really good for us as well to know the results then, because then we know how to address different kinds of people, because they will also know if it's administrative stuff, if it's academic stuff, and I think that will be really helpful. But on a more strategic level, we are still looking for good practices for engagement. I think that's about it.
Thank you very much, Julia. A couple of points I took away from that. One is the importance of websites, or providing information to staff and students about what they can do. You can do that through different ways. The importance of networks, so joining up those small groups of staff and students who are interested in climate and sustainability, bringing them together. And also, I find this quite challenging at Edinburgh, which is a rather large university community, is just awareness of what is happening. You can have all these kind of reporting structures, but a lot of the activity takes place informally and out with those kind of governance structures. And it is a challenge to keep yourself up to speed in terms of what's happening in one area and another. So I sympathise with you there. It's definitely a challenge that we face. I'm going to just see if there's any kind of specific comments or questions for Julia before we move on to Sophia. Yeah, and then.
Yeah, just a comment about websites and maybe in general. It's not a conflict, but we're not sure how to solve it. Well, we have a climate and environmental strategy, and it doesn't take the whole SDG framework. It's mainly focused on climate and energy. So that's a little bit, we haven't decided how to do that on the website. Should we have a SDG website and the climate and environment website, or how to balance that? So if anyone have a solution on that, please share.
I think we have this struggle as well. So we have different goals, but the main goal is actually climate neutrality. But then you get the comments, what about other things? What about social sustainability? And we want to address that as well. But it's just that we have more material on the ecological part, on the climate neutrality part. So I think that's a good point on how to balance it. And especially if you put it on the website, do you say it's just just a climate strategy, just a climate website, or is it sustainability as a whole? So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, Francesca.
The thing that comes after setting up the website is, what do you do next? What do you do with the website? And that's something that we have a website, but a website is a living thing. You have to keep it updated, and things are changing so fast. And then the next thing is, who reads your website? How much effort do you put in it? And that's I think that's very important to get the people reading the website, reading the information. That is, of course, very, very important and interesting. But how do you get the people to the website, and how do you distribute the information? I think that's something that has to be considered when you start the website. How do you get the news out to the people? We haven't figured it out completely yet.
Neither have we, and I think we've opened up Pandora's box here in terms of the website communication. Communication is probably something we haven't touched on as much, but that is so important in terms of engaging staff and students, as you were saying, Francesca, towards information, things you want them to do. So I'll speak about communication, what we're doing at Edinburgh, because that's really central to our approach. Martin, did you have your hand up there? Did you want to come in?
Yeah, indeed. One of the biggest challenges at the VUB is also communication and how to reach the right people at the right moment with the right message. There is a website, there is an intranet page for staff, intranet for students, and there is coming information from everywhere. Everybody's overloaded and doesn't have the time. So yeah, it's a challenge that you hear everywhere, I think. So yeah, it's also something that we're facing, and Yeah, there were a lot of elements touched. Something that we have at the VUB as well is that we have an action plan on the ecological part of sustainability. Then we have an action plan on well-being, and an action plan on gender and equality. So those are the three focuses that we have with regards to sustainability.
Thank you very much, Martin. I think this whole piece of communication, this is going to be something that I think as the kind of working group, the SDG and Green Working Group, we can maybe spend a bit more time on in the longer term in terms of looking at case studies, what works, what doesn't work, because it is a crowded market for students and also staff just now. Julia, thank you very much for that. We're going to go to Sophia now, and then we'll go to Martin.
Well, a lot of things to think about already again today. So what my challenge is, especially in terms of the students, I don't know my students before they are here in Berlin on site, and then they are only here for 3 weeks, 6 weeks or 4 weeks, and then they come from all over the world. So it's not a special region they come from, but they are really from Asia, from North America, from South America, from Europe. So I think I don't have the chance to really engage them in terms of what you talked about, projects, even if they are smaller projects, but I don't even have 6 months to do that. And then I don't really have the preparation period before they come here. So I have at best 4 weeks before they come to Berlin to start sending informational material. And then they take the courses, and then sorry, I have my youngest daughter with me today, and then they leave off. But what I want to do, or what we now decided to do, is to offer them a program that is aware of the challenges of the current times, and that we as a program have offerings for the students. At least that's what our idea is right now. And so we took the whole SDG, all of the SDGs, took a look at them and identified 5 SDGs that we want to work on and that we want to focus on. And one of that being climate action. And we now try to find out what we can do as staff. And I don't have a problem with staff, because my staff, meaning the staff working for the International Summer and Winter University, they are dedicated. They know this is what we need to focus on now, and this is what we need to work on. So, but I still need to train my staff. I need to train myself in certain areas, but we need to be trained, and that's not a problem. They will do that. I mean, time is always a problem, but they know that's important. Then I need to train my instructors, and I need to be very clear on what I want to train them. I mean, what is the purpose then of each session that I offer? And I need to work on that in the next coming weeks and months. And then what I want to do is to have one-on-one conversations with them over the summer. So this summer, hopefully, we have instructors on site again in Berlin. And it's not only instructors of Freie Universität Berlin that teach our courses. We have also instructors from all over the world coming here. And I want to have lunch talks, conversations, one-on-one conversations with them. What do they know already? What do they want to invest? And then how can I use that for the program for the time being, for the time they are here, for the FUBIS program? So that's an idea, and that will be very time consuming, but I think it's the best way. And then we are talking about, let's say, 30 to 50 instructors that I will have conversations with. And then I'll also find out about hesitation and about maybe instructors that are all for it, and then that I can take as role models, let's say, and then other instructors that I will have to see what they will what they think about the issues. And then I need to find out, Freie Universität Berlin is doing already a lot of things, so I need to find out what are they doing? So a landing page would be perfect, where I can find, all the projects of Freie Universität, and where I can then screen and again try to contact different persons and try to use that again for the program. So, but the very first step is I need to find out what do I want to focus on? Why do I want to do that? What can I do? And what do I want the others to do then? And this is really a big challenge, but very, very helpful. Everyone who already contributed today, and I scribbled down all the notes, and I will try to come up with something with a plan for the summer.
Sophia, thank you very much. Noted in terms of just the limited time you have with the students, and also the kind of limitations in terms of what you can send them in advance. You know, you've got that kind of 4-week window, and also in terms of what do you want to focus on, both with the instructors and the students. Just one kind of lesson from Edinburgh that we were going through just now, because we've got a number of kind of summer school programs. We've also got kind of lifelong learning programs over the summer for people both within the city and online. And what we're doing just now, we're talking with colleagues who are organising them about embedding carbon literacy training. So that's an accredited training that raises awareness of kind of climate literacy, and also help to understand how individuals by themselves, but also in groups, can reduce their carbon footprint. And the training only takes, well, I say only, you have to do 7 hours worth of training. So that lends itself quite nicely to like a 1-day kind of workshop, or split it over kind of 2 sessions. So that's what we're doing. We're currently in discussions with those colleagues to embed that training within the summer school programs, and also those kind of lifelong learning programs as well, as part of the kind of induction piece. We're still trying to work through kind of staff resource and who's going to deliver them, etc. But we kind of focused on that because our core priority just now is climate. Professional development is something that students want, and it's accredited as well. So there's a number of kind of win-wins there. Plus, we're good at delivering it. We know we can deliver it to a high standard. So I'll go through that when I speak on what Edinburgh is doing. Any questions or comments for Sophia there? Nope. Okie dokie. Sophia, thank you very much for that. I'm going to hand over to Martin now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I can say a lot, but maybe focus indeed on the staff and student community. Maybe to give a bit of framework of the VUB and sustainability. We have a sustainability action plan approved by the board of directors. There's 26 actions of what the VUB wants to do in order to become sustainable. It's focused on operations, and it's also the climate neutrality story there. And it's focused on sustainable research, sustainable education, and one pillar, the 4th pillar, is community and engagement. One aspect there is the communication, which already talked about. Then there is the cooperation of the sustainability coordinator and a sustainability team with the different departments at the VUB in order to become climate neutral. And because every department at the VUB has to be on board in order to reach those goals. And a 3rd aspect is the bottom-up working with staff and students, and therefore we have a green office. And those are 5 job students working 2 days a week. And they have several projects, and they organize activities on the VUB to engage staff and students to more like focused on behavior change. And though there are 3 fixed projects, there is a green impact project with the staff. It's an action program where the staff can voluntarily join, and they can do actions in order to make their working place more sustainable, and they receive points if they do certain actions. And at the end of each year, there is like an awards ceremony for the different teams. And throughout the year, there are several exchange moments where the teams can meet each other. And that's what the teams and the staff like the most, because they can meet with the other engaged person with the same mindset around the university. So those are really fine moments. And then we have a similar program for the for the dorms that are on the campus of the VUB. So where we have a direct impact on how the students can sort their waste or on elevator use and stuff like that. And then the third program there is with the student organizations, so the student circles, how they can become more sustainable in organizing field trips, organizing parties in their day-to-day working. So that's how we try to cover most of the groups on the campus. And then there are like sensitizing and projects on food in the restaurant, on waste, together with the infrastructural department, on campus and biodiversity, together with also the infrastructural department. So we try to focus on different elements there with the relevant stakeholders at the university. So there's a lot of going on, but I try to give a small overview.
Martin, that's fantastic. And I think
if you have questions on a certain project you want to go deeper in, just ask.
I'm going to take you up on the offer right now, Martin, because I think one issue you raised was kind of the Green Office. I'd be really interested to know more about, how was that established? What kind of staff resource has gone into that in terms of supporting the students? And also in terms of if you've got any feedback from the students who've participated and worked in the Green Office, what was their experience like? So yeah, really interested in terms of how it was established, the staff resource, and any kind of feedback from students.
So it was established before I was here. It's like 7 years ago, and it's something that already existed in the UK at first, and then the Rebecca, the current sustainability coordinator at the VUB, discovered the program via an exchange between universities, and I think it was the first one to leave the UK towards the rest of Europe. It was a first Green Office, and it was like in Brussels then. And then, yeah, it's slowly built up to more and more students because, yeah, there were several projects that were coming back each year. So now we're with 5 students working 2 days a week. I'm the coordinator of the Green Office now. Depending on I'm also the mobility coordinator. So depending on how much time is focused on mobility, I have less time for the students, but I try to work at least 1 day per week with them. And I try to do 2 days a week, but we have some kind of system where we try to have overlap for students staying for 2 years, in which they give their information and their knowledge to the new students coming in each year. So we try to have an overlap there. Otherwise, you have to train all the students again in the beginning of each year, and it's very time consuming. But it's not always that easy. What we also try to do is to find students in their 3rd or 4th year, because they have a little bit more experience and they're more mature. Because we have experience in the past, if you go for a 1st-year student, yeah, it takes more time for me, and I don't always have the time. So then it becomes more difficult. So actually, they work pretty on their own, and each week there is like at the beginning, so Monday morning, there is a team meeting in which we discuss the previous week and the projects coming up. But yeah, we have to rely on the capabilities of the students, which is very important. So the screening is an important aspect there. And I think the last part of your question was the experience from students, and we noticed there that they learn a lot about the topic of sustainability and the different aspects there. That's waste, energy, mobility, the climate program. And also they learn a lot of capacities by working. They are job students, but they work for the VUB. They have to mail, they have to call to different actors on the campus. So they learn how to work in an organization, a big organization. It's really an added value for their resume. It's something that always comes back to the from the students. So not only on the on sustainability, but also like the capabilities that they learn from working in such an environment is something that's really an advantage of such a structure.
Martin, thank you very much for that. That was really helpful. I'm going to open the floor to see if there's any other questions or comments from colleagues. Yeah, Francesca.
Yes, thank you, Martin, for your presentation. I would also be interested in the Green Office movement because it's also student engagement. It's not like a student project. It's more institutionalized, and I'm wondering how active the students are. Is it do you have the students have to apply for this position in the Green Office, or students can just hop in? And how popular is it working in the Green Office?
So there are job students, so they are paid, the 5 students, and we also have a volunteering program linked to the Green Office. While, for instance, as there are like we have also like bird houses on campus. So then we try to involve the rest of the students to hang them up in trees and to build them. And for to work in the green team, there's an application process. But it's not always very, it depends on the year, but there's not really that much applicants because also very time consuming. Like 2 days per week for a student, not every student can manage that. That's quite, it's not always difficult to find the right students for that. The most difficult aspect that we have in our working is how to engage students who don't have a certain place on campus. They come here 3-4 times a week, but how do you can attract them to join your activities or to know who you are and how to communicate to them and to search for the volunteers. So that's the biggest challenges that we face. I don't know if it's a complete answer to your question.
Yes, it was, because I was thinking if that might be, yeah, I think we all have the problem to get volunteers, to have like this constant amount of students who are willing to do something. And I was thinking if you make it more institutionalized, not to tell the students, but work with the students and show them, okay, so there's a concrete action that we want to take from our university point of view. Do you want to work on that? So that might be more, I don't want to say effective, but maybe that also helps the students to have a concrete goal, but not to say them, okay, what do you want to do? Maybe this freedom of the voluntary action might be also overwhelming for the students. So that's why I was thinking if that might be a good chance to get more students involved. But as you say, there are also not always so many applicants for this position. Yeah, that was just a thought running through my head. Thank you.
Yeah, and when we search for volunteers, it is on a specific project or like a specific event that we are organizing, but it's depending on the sort of event, if students are interested. If it's like building birdhouses or a beehive, yeah, lots of students are coming over, but when it's about organizing an event with lectures on sustainability, yeah, less students are interested because it's more like organizational instead of working with your hands. So it really depends on which activity in order if students are interested or not. but for the job students, for the green team, they work about 1 to 2 years mainly.
I was just wondering, how does the Green Office work budget-wise? So do you have a fixed budget for the Green Office? So of course you have to pay the students, the 5 students, working students, but do you also have a fixed budget per year for projects coming out of the Green Office, or is it the students come up with projects and ask you for funding? So how does this also work between you as a coordinator and the students, and how is the budget and funding in general?
So we have a fixed budget for the wages to pay the students, and then like the working budget in order to do events, to give lunch to people coming to an event, or if materials are necessary, or to give some gifts to the sustainability heroes at the VUB. So there's a working budget and a student budget for the wages, and it's institutionalized, so it's in the yearly. I don't find the word now. It's yearly. It goes to the board of directors and it's approved each year.
And if let's say the students say, we have this idea and this project, we want to have, I don't know, free coffee if you bring your own cup, could we do that? Is then you take the project and go to management and ask for funding, or how does this work operationally?
No, I have a yearly budget, and we have to fix. We have to make sure that all the events that we do are within that budget. For instance, we work also with external. We try to work with external organizations or with other departments at the VB, for instance, with the restaurant, in order to split the necessary budget, and also to split the time, because there's also if you can do it with more, then you can you can split the time that you have to invest in it. There are also other student organizations or departments organizing stuff at the VB, and then we try to support them with the green team, and that you don't have to organize it as a whole, because it's much more time consuming, for instance. So yeah, we search for ways to make it bigger with the availability of the students and the budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Martin there? Nope. Martin, thank you very much for that. That was really insightful. And I think a lot of colleagues appreciated just that kind of very quick overview of the Green Office, because that is definitely a topic of conversation just now across the colleagues here. So thank you very much, Martin. What I'm going to move on to now is just a quick update in terms of what Edinburgh is doing in terms of staff and student engagement. And I want to kind of focus on kind of 5 aspects. One is a kind of framework for action. Second is communications, skills, networks, and also funding. So I just want to start on the kind of the framework for action. So one of our most successful engagement programs, probably the most successful, has been our Sustainability Awards program, which is based on the Green Impact model. So basically we have a framework for action in areas of study, areas of work such as labs, office space, but also student accommodation. And groups of staff students can come together, undertake these actions, and get bronze, silver, or gold. That's been highly successful in engaging staff and students. However, recently, because we've been doing that for several years, we've kind of reflected in terms of whether that's the right model to go ahead with, because we were probably lacking in terms of engagement with academic staff. I know that was a point you kind of highlighted. And also another point that's been highlighted, how do you actually engage senior management as well with kind of a grassroots kind of effort? So we're evolving the Sustainability Awards framework into a benchmark scheme, which is still a framework for action, but it requires both kind of bottom-up efforts and top-down efforts. So some components of that, there has to be senior management buy-in. The academic school or professional services group, they need to have a kind of high level commitment within the group itself or committee, there needs to be academic staff, there needs to be professional services staff, and there needs to be students as well. And thirdly, to try and kind of incentivize staff and students to participate in this, we are giving them access to a wide range of data. So looking at business travel, looking at kind of utilities to help them kind of understand, okay, what's their impact and where can they actually, make a difference. And also we're almost, it's not a league table as such, but internally we're developing this benchmark so we can give information to heads of college, heads of academic schools, heads of professional services to say, here, this is what your area is doing. And by the way, would you like to see what other areas are doing as well? To make it a more competitive element and get more people on board. We haven't made it mandatory as yet. That was a part of the conversation. We're going to see how it goes on a voluntary basis with the maybe possibility of making it mandatory in the future. But we're just piloting this new framework this year with 5 academic schools and 5 professional services groups, just to see how it goes and the feedback we get. So I just want to start off with that. Secondly, communications is really, really important. This is a work in progress for us. We haven't got a silver bullet to this, but we spent a lot of time in understanding, when to communicate. I think in terms of the start of the academic year is just getting busier and busier for students. So looking at kind of laying out the whole academic year and putting in kind of milestones when we want to communicate, and also embedding our message in school communications and accommodation messages, just so we're trying to identify where communication channels exist and embed our own messages within them instead of creating brand new communication channels. And also social media. We started off with Facebook and Twitter, but actually the most engaging platform, certainly for student engagement, is Instagram. That has been a great way to engage with student societies and sport clubs. They're active. We can get case studies on what they're doing. We can put competitions out there. So that's been really good. But again, we're still trying to develop that. We don't always get it right, but we're just trying to kind of identify where communication channels exist, what channels work best, and also being quite kind of simple and concise with our messaging as well, being very clear. And then the next 3, skills, networks, and funding. I'm just going to share my screen so I can just show you our website. I'm just going to take you through very briefly what we do and also maybe some of the challenges. So just bear with me until I get the screen up. Okay, so hopefully you're able to see our kind of homepage. This was a lot more complicated before, and over the last year we've kind of reviewed our website and we've really taken it back. We've streamlined it so it's hopefully easier for staff and students to kind of navigate. I'll just go to the students page to kind of highlight some of the main aspects that we do. First of all, going back to communication, we kind of highlight in that top corner about how you can keep in contact with us. What do we use? We've got a section around skills development, really framing this around kind of green careers and professional development. So we've developed online and in-person courses with colleagues from across the university, because one of the issues that we realised was resilient staff capacity. We just can't do this by ourselves. So we've managed to open the career service, the student association, and other areas to kind of help us deliver that. We've also got a network of sustainability champions. So we've got a network of over 600 staff and students who act as volunteers or ambassadors. So every quarter we provide opportunities for them to meet up, talk about issues, talk about how they're trying to embed sustainability within their areas. We typically get between 100 to 150 coming along to those quarterly meetings. I don't think we've maximised the impact with that network. I think it's been a bit passive to date, and I think over the last year we've kind of found kind of online fatigue in terms of, since staff and students haven't been on campus, it's been a bit difficult to really focus actions on their area of study or their area of work. But hopefully in the coming year, when we get back onto campus more, that will help. We've also got specific funding for students. So we've got a couple of funding streams, and we've got limited cash budget in our kind of department. So one project that I led on over the last couple of years was engaging with our development and alumni team to try and see if we can, engage with our alumni, with donors to bring in some funding. And we were successful with that. So one of our grants, the Derek and Maureen Muss Student Climate Innovation Grant, that is purely based on donors funding. We got £10,000 from those donors, and they've committed to more over the coming years. So that's maybe one thing that I've learned about, if your cash budget is kind of small, go to development and alumni, talk to alumni donors, because again, they might have funds that could help with what you want to do there. And I'll just very quickly go to our staff page lastly, just to kind of highlight just some areas that we're working on. Looking at kind of professional development, that's a big one. So we've actually developed a dedicated course for academic and professional staff called Taking Action for a Sustainable World. And this is a course which is it's not an introductory course, it's an in-depth course pulled from kind of expert knowledge from across the university about raising awareness of sustainability issues, but also all participants have to actually create an action plan where they kind of work at the university. So it's not open to students, it's only open to staff, and we tend to have about 60 to 80 staff per year, each cohort, just to kind of go through the programme, and we've delivered that in partnership with Learning for Sustainability Scotland. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen there just now. So that gives you a kind of flavour of what we do. I'll be honest, in terms of some opportunities and challenges, staff and students want this, but when they say they want this, they don't always have the time to actually participate. So our kind of innovation grant there, we did a whole load of comms on the back of COP26. We linked up with our central communications team. We engaged with the Student Association. We thought we'd probably get somewhere in the region of 30 to 50 applicants. We only got 20 applicants, which was good. And we got some really good quality ones, but the amount of effort we put in terms of raising awareness of that, we just thought, oh, we would have got more. But again, that might just be because students don't have a lot of time. And also a lot of them were kind of not on campus then. Our kind of framework for action, as I said, we're evolving the framework. The Sustainability Awards were a great way to engage staff and students and really, target that low-hanging fruit, but it can only take you so far. So we had that framework for several years, and we just recognised, actually, how do you increase momentum? How do you increase impact going forward? We had to change things. So I think for me, sometimes it's worth reviewing what you offer and just freshen things up in terms of making it more attractive to kind of staff and students, but also make sure you're having that impact and it aligns with what you're doing. So our big focus just now is climate. So everything that we do has to link back to our new climate strategy. So I'm going to pause there and just see if there's any kind of comments or questions from you on that. Yeah, Martin.
So at the VUB, we have the Green Impact as well. But now that you're going to the new program, the benchmark program, are you still using the Green Impact framework, or did you stop that? And our biggest challenge there is how to connect students to the program, because we have different departments who are very willing to join, mostly based on volunteers who are really enthusiastic. How do you integrate students?
It's a really good question, Martin. So yeah, basically the Sustainability Awards were based on the Green Impact model. Essentially what Edinburgh likes to do is likes to put the kind of Edinburgh sticker on any external initiative, just because in our experience, colleagues are more willing to engage in an internal scheme than from like an external provider. It's just the way it is in Edinburgh. So we adopted that model. That's worked really well. How we got students involved in that was through a specific framework for student accommodation. We've actually just launched a new framework for student societies and sport clubs, which untapped resource. Sport clubs, by the way, they've been fantastic. We've got over 30 sport clubs who are participating in that. We never thought we would have high numbers of that audience, but surprisingly, sport clubs are really competitive and they want to beat each other, right? So that's been quite good. But in terms of students, we provided an auditor opportunity. So the departments who participated in our Sustainability Awards programme, they were trained up as sustainability auditors, and they went in pairs to audit different departments and professional services groups. And that went really well. That was one of our most popular volunteering opportunities, and staff liked it. They got really, on the whole, they got some really good feedback from students. There is a risk, sometimes students don't turn up, sometimes they come unprepared to audits, but that's just part of the experience. So we want to retain that in our new framework, but we also want students more involved directly in the teams. So the auditor opportunity is great, but how do we get more students involved in the team? So that's why, as part of the new framework, your group or committee needs to have student representation in that. It's a must. If you want to participate, you need to have students on that group or committee. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Hopefully it helps. Grand. Any further kind of questions or comments? Nope.
No, it's just quite impressive. all the stuff you're doing at Edinburgh, and inspiring.
Thanks for that, Paul. So, you know, we've got a lot of progress to go. We've got a lot of challenges as well. But I mean, if you think about it, our university community is probably around about 60,000, and we're probably engaging with only a really small fraction of that. So there's lots of opportunity, but again, we've got limited staff resource there. I'm conscious of time. I want to kind of wrap things up in the kind of next couple of minutes. I just want to share back to you. I've been scribbling some notes here, and you'll get those in due course in terms of the key points and also recommendations. But I've kind of highlighted some challenges, common challenges and threads that people have kind of focused on. The first is that kind of buy-in from staff, and especially academic staff. That seems to kind of crop up in a number of the kind of presentations there. We've heard how universities have developed specific training for staff, including academic staff. We've heard about kind of frameworks in terms of groups or committees need to include academic staff in them as well. But that's certainly a challenge. How do we actually engage and get buy-in from academic staff? Another point was, how do you develop and maintain momentum with your engagement and with projects? I think one example highlighted was, you know, how do you actually go about getting students on maybe like 2-year internships, or getting students from different year groups involved, so the knowledge is not lost, they can kind of pass that on to other students. And you could maybe replicate that as well with staff as well, to a certain extent, making sure, you know, you've got a good breadth there of staff who are new but also experienced staff. Another one was on, how do you actually go beyond the usual actors? How do you engage with a wider audience? I think we're all struggling with that. I think, you know, we've all got different programs, so it's trying to see how we can upscale our engagement, but that's one that I'm sure we'll come back to. And lastly, the issue of how do you scale up impact? We've talked about, you know, getting, you know, that vertical integration, making sure there's kind of knowledge transfer between participants, but also I think in my experience, especially with student projects, how can you connect them up with other parts of the university that will add value? So like our innovations team, our community engagement team, and also our skills office as well. So there's a few issues there that we've covered. And as I said, what I'll do, I'll circulate the kind of notes, and, you know, I'll share those. And if you have any kind of thoughts after today, please do share them with the group. We'll keep this going. But I want to say a massive thank you to you all for your kind of time today, and your kind of proactive nature as well. It's been really inspiring and actually quite comforting hearing from others about, you know, we are in the same boat, we're facing kind of similar challenges and also maybe similar opportunities as well. In terms of the other climate action roundtables, we have one tomorrow on sustainable IT. That's going to be hosted by Rebecca. So that'll be looking at kind of how do we deal with sustainable IT in our institutions, behaviours around that. And then on Wednesday, we're specifically focused on how do you develop climate strategies. So how do you start off on all that? So I've already heard from a few of you about how you've recently signed off on climate strategies. So it'll be great to hear from you in terms of how did you get it going? Because that's going to be a bit of a kind of taster session for those institutions who are just starting out on their journey. So before I close things up, I'm just going to see if there's any questions or last comments from colleagues. I'll just go around the full list very quickly. We'll go to Anne-Lynn. Anything you'd like to share just now?
No, just thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Anne-Lynn. We'll go to Julia.
No, but thank you also.
We'll go to Martin.
No, just thanks for the organization and the summary.
No problem. Anna.
Just thank you.
No problem. And on to Sophia.
Thank you very much. Very informative and engaging session today.
No problem. I hope your younger daughter enjoyed it as well. I'll move on to Claire.
No, I'm good, but thank you. And I just wanted to say that it's really nice to be able to share good practices or things that are working so well, because it makes me feel better.
Completely agree with that. And we'll go to Francesca.
Yeah, I have no final remarks or questions. Just thank you very much. And I also really like the exchange very much to see what you're doing, how you're doing it, and that we can learn from each other.
And well, thank you all. We'll keep the conversation going. As I said, we've got 2 other climate action roundtables. We'll then circulate the notes and the key points and the recordings from all of the sessions. And what we're hoping to do basically is produce a document for UNICA members that highlights kind of key issues and key recommendations about how to address some of the challenges that we've discussed today and in previous sessions. Enjoy the rest of your week. That's just coming up to 1 minute to go at the end of the session. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Bye all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.